Hey there, aspiring guitarists. Today I'm going to talk about power chords and how they tie in to the musical alphabet with chord progressions. Why the musical alphabet is so important. If you remember, I've got a quick video, it got watched a lot, about the one thing that if a guitar student doesn't learn after I've encouraged them, given them warnings, made several attempts, explained to them why it's so important, that I'll stop teaching them, and I'll tell the parents that that they're not ready at this time to go forward. And that's the musical alphabet. And remember, the musical alphabet, let me fold this because I'm going to use this, is simply A through G and then repeat. It's simply A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then repeat back to A. So you're going to find uses for this all through guitar, whether you go down the theory path or not. This is a basic element. So power chord progressions use this, and in fact, to figure out a power chord without seeing a chord chart, you're going to need that musical alphabet and how to advance. You just saw we did A through G, and that's my little crazy repeat symbol right there. But it doesn't matter where you start it, whether you start at A or if you start at C. If you start at C, you're just going to do C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Then you would hit the octave, repeat, C again. This is important, and it's important with a power chord because a power chord, by definition, and I'm going to talk about my previous video on power chords, is the root note and the fifth note of the progression of the musical alphabet. Now, I did a video, I'll say this fast, which is why I'm just saying this because I don't want to go there. I did a video earlier that got watched a lot about power chords and voicings. I did not start the video out defining what a power chord was. I started out encouraging you, if you didn't know what one was, to Google it. Because the point of the video was to show different chord voicings in different tones, pitches, when you had multiple guitars playing. The example I had was I was in a large gospel group that sometimes had 8 acoustic guitars playing. So you didn't want every single guitar hitting a chord all the same, because there's always going to be that little bit of rhythm that's out of sync with somebody, and that can give you a nice chorus harmony thing. But sometimes you also want to run the spectrum of having a lower pitch C chord to a higher pitch C chord, and that makes the harmony become fuller and it sounds better. So that was the purpose of the video. Well, I actually turned off the comments because the viewers, they started going at each other. And I don't know if the stars just weren't aligned. I actually don't know what was going on. But I mean, they started beating up on each other on what a power chord was. And it got, I don't know what happened. And they weren't saying anything to me. They were just obliterating one another. And so I shut off the commenting. And so the only reason I say that is, I can't, I don't moderate comments anymore. I've got them set for strict. I don't have time for that. So, if y'all go there, you go there. But today we're actually going to learn how to tie a power chord to that musical alphabet progression. You can see I've got more stuff down here we'll cover in just a minute. So, to get a power chord, you take the root note and then you take the fifth note. So let's use E. I'm going to put this on a guitar in a minute. But anyway, a power chord, you can say an E powered chord or you can call it an E5. Because remember, once again, it's the root note and the fifth note of the progression. So if I start out with E, that's my root note. So I got to have E. And then I progress. The second is F. The third is G. The fourth is A. The fifth is a B. So I need an E note and I need a B note. That's why it's called an E5. If we were starting out with G, it would be the same formula. You'd go G is your root, A, B, C, D, E, and move till you got to the fifth note in the progression, and that would be your second note of a power chord. I don't want to get bogged down with too much of that. So anyway, let's try to apply it to the guitar. We know that most instructors have been doing this for years. Some people do it different. They start off teaching you notes on the guitar. Remember, first you're taught the strings. E, A, D, G, B, E. How do you remember that? Lots of ways. Usually acronyms. Elephants and donkeys grow big ears. And there's also Eddie, 8, dynamite, goodbye, Eddie. E, A, D, G, B, E. Sixth string, fifth string, fourth string, third, second, first. And then you have that confusion of this is the low E. I've heard people call it the high E because it's the highest toward the ceiling, but actually it's the low pitch E. The first string is the high pitch E. So anyway, we often teach E, F, there's a half step. That's the reason you only got one fret from open to 1, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, half step to C, C sharp, D, D sharp, I'm on the 11th fret, and I get the root note again on the 12th. The 12th is where you get your octave. So, and the octave meaning the same note, different tone pitch. So anyway, and the reason we teach this is because you have a low E up here on the 6th string, and you have a high E down here on the 1st string. Well, if you know one, you know the other. So that's the reason a lot of them do that. But actually, I think maybe we ought to start on the 5th string, because that's an A. And then do A sharp, B, half step to C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, half step to F, F sharp, G, G sharp, I'm on the 11th, and I move to the 12th, and I get the octave, get the A again. So, how do we tie that to a power chord? Well, first we got to make the power chord. Now, unless you're shown a chord diagram, once you learn this very basic music theory, the very basic, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, repeat. It ends at G, then it goes back to A. There is, in Western music, there are different types of musical scales and theories, but, you know, we deal in Western music. That's a whole nother lesson, and history and great theory that provokes the mind there. But that's what we do in Western music. There is no H chord. There is no I. There is no J. There is no, I said Western music. It stops at G and goes back to A. Then you get your sharps and flats and all that, and you have your natural half steps, B to C, next natural half step, E to F. Anyway, back to power chords or fifth chords. So, if we want to use the 6th string and use the open 6th string as our root key, well, that's an E. Remember, that's an E. That's your low E. So now, what do we got to come up with? We've got to come up with the 5th note in that progression. The 5th note. That's where I'm going to go back. I'm going to show you the guitar again. That's where, remember, E. We're starting out at E. Your 5th note is going to be a B. And all I did was count E, F, G, A, B. B is the fifth note in the progression from A, or the root note. So let's go back to the guitar. E, open. F, G, A. All right. A string. We've got to get that fifth note. That fifth note's a B. So where are we going to get the fifth? If we tried to stay on the sixth string, we couldn't possibly chord it. Look, E, F, G, A, B. You can't chord that. You can't reach that far. So we're going to have to drop down to the next string and see if we can reach it there. So we've got our E open. What are we searching for? We're searching for a B. The fifth string is an A. A sharp on the first fret, B on the second fret. That's what makes it a fifth, a E5. Okay, so how do we play it? Well, we hit the sixth string E open, and then we touch the B note on the second fret, fifth string. Let's see if I can do it and not buzz out. So we're playing the E open, the fifth string or the A string fretted on the second fret. And there's your E power chord right there. So if we move in a chord progression from E to F, what do? Well, we got to get F. So open was E. If I play the first fret, sixth string, there's my F note. Now I got to find my fifth note. So let's do it again. F, that's your root first. G, A, B, C. I've got to have an F note, my root, and I've got to have a C, my fifth note. Well, I can get the F right up here on the first fret, sixth string. Where am I going to get my C? Well, again, if I start running down the sixth string, it'd be too far apart. F, G, A, B, C. You can't chord from the eighth fret to the first fret. So you get your F note up here on the sixth string, first fret. You get your next one by going to the next string below. So the next string below is A, the fifth string, A sharp, B. It's on the second fret, fifth string. So to move from E5, which remember E5, F, there's G, I'm just following the progression of the musical alphabet. There's A, there's B, there's C, there's D, and there's E, even though I gotta stretch in, this isn't a cutaway. So what did I do? Okay, well, the go from E to F was easy enough. I went from that to that. And it formed a shape. Well, let's look at that shape. It was the sixth string, and then it was the string below, 2 frets over. I can't do it upside down without buzzing out. But all I did was keep that shape as I moved and progressed down. So that allowed me to make that progression. E, F, G, A, B, C. And so you're going to notice the shapes. And until you get down to the B string, which of course is where there's a difference in guitar tuning, which was worked out very brilliantly hundreds of years ago to make playing chords easier on the guitar. Because we have 6 strings to deal with. You can play chords all over the place. Notes are all over the place. So it was brilliant that they tuned that way. That's a whole nother lesson. But if you learn that musical alphabet and you notice that you find the root note, then you find the 5th note, A, B, C, D, E. So I got to have, for an A, I got to have the root note A, and I got to have the 5th note, A, B, C, D, E. So I got to have an A and an E. If I'm playing a C power chord, a C5, C, that's the root note, D, E, F, G. So I've got to have C and I've got to have G. And you'll find out to get those practically. Remember, I showed you how you can't play a chord 8 frets apart down the neck. So you look to the string below to see if you can get that 5th note, and you usually can. In fact, you almost always can. There is that deviation when you get down around the 2nd or the B string for some things. But the musical alphabet, this is just one example of so many ways that it plays a part. Now, what do they use power chords for? A lot of times it's used in rock and roll rhythm, but in many other things. I did a video to show chord voicings. Now, you can add a 3rd note and embellish, but it's part of the scale. That's a whole nother thing. I'm not trying to take y'all into theory that you don't need yet, but you can add a 3rd note and play 3 notes to get a power chord. That's an embellishment of a power chord. But power chords can be played quickly. It's just very often just 2 fingers fretting. Sometimes it's only 1 and an open string. So you can quickly move up and down the fretboard. You know, if you're up here with an E, F, G, A, B, C, and so forth and so on, and depending. So it's a quick way to play rhythm, and you just learn to strum just, 2 strings or 3 strings. I think sometimes when we're learning chords, instructors forget to teach students about the root chord, and which is the note of the name of the chord. And they also sometimes don't teach them that a true chord is 3 notes. That's a triad. And it's part of a scale. And that's more stuff we're not going to get into. What I'm trying to get you to see is that power chords, 5th chords, have they're just, they're used all the time in rock and roll. And in many other genres, because you have somebody's got to hold down the fort. Rhythm is everything. I'm probably going to start a war here. I've heard people say, are you a rhythm guitarist or a lead guitarist? And I'm going to tell you, some of the greatest guitarists in the world say, no, I'm both. I have to play rhythm and I have to play lead. I guess you could call me a lead guitarist because, they do let me go off and do a little, short solo, but, I got to come back to the rhythm, or I got to be quiet and let the rhythm. Somebody's got to hold down the fort. Rhythm is everything. I've said that many times. So a power chord is a 5th chord. I hope this gives you a little bit of an explanation. It's not as mysterious as we often make it out to be. I encourage you to do some Google search on power chords, YouTube. There's more lessons on power chords. Maybe not get in a fight with other viewers like happened on my first video, because I want your guitar journey to be blessed. And most of all, and I really do mean it, happy picking.